It is 6:30, and if would everybody stand and join Cub Scout Pack 90 of Plain City in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge States of America and to the republic and thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you and leading us in the pledge. Last week was National Scout Day, and so I always appreciate the relationship that we have with our local Cub Scout and Boy Scout troop here in Plain City. So thank you for coming to our meeting this evening and leading us in the pledge. Let's give them a round of applause. And I know you have a meeting this evening too, so you are more than welcome to head on to your meeting. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Dreyer, would you call the roll? Here.
Mr. Daly.
Here.
Ms. Ferguson.
Here.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Mr. Sens.
Here.
He is running behind. He will be here. Are there any amendments or additions to tonight's council meeting agenda? Hearing none, the agenda will stand as provided. Is there a motion to approve the council work session meeting minutes from February 7th, 2024?
Motion to approve. Second.
Mr. Daly.
Yes.
Mr. Sens.
Yes.
Ms. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
And at this time, I would like to have a moment of silence in remembrance of former council member Cora Phillips, who passed away recently. So we will start that moment of silence. Thank you. And tonight, we have a certificate of recognition that I would like to bestow upon a member of our community. Council and myself were we want to provide recognition for Mrs. Corey Lear. So Corey, if you'd like to come forward. A couple of weeks ago, Plain City had their first art walk, and Corey orchestrated the entire event. It was a beautiful evening of people, businesses collaborating with local artists, and so I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for putting this together. It is my pleasure as mayor of the Village of Plain City to recognize Ms. Corey Lear. Ms. Lear has led the creation and organization of the Plain City Walks Association and recently the Plain City Arts Walk event. Such acts of community engagement and support lead to the betterment and advancement of Plain City. The Village of Plain City is privileged and grateful to have a community leader such as Ms. Lear, Corey Lear. On behalf of the Village of Plain City, thank you. And as a token of our appreciation. Thank you very much.
Thanks for organizing the warm weather too that night.
Yeah.
Yes. Under our visitor section, we have one visitor, Steve Seifert.
Do I have to state my name or anything?
Yes, you can if you'd like.
Steve Seifert, resident. I just wanted to take a minute to comment on the proposed amendment to the noise ordinance that you'll be voting on later. First, thank you for putting all of the changes together. I appreciate the sincere effort to protect the residents of our town, and I feel that's in general what it's about. I do have a concern about one aspect of it after reading through it several times, and that is how to determine exactly who or what is creating the noise. When I think about it, our ears can distinguish the difference between dogs barking, sirens, or a loud concert band, but the sound level meter that you'll be using can't distinguish between those. It only can register a number. And so as I read it, it appears that, again, the police officer is still tasked with determining the source of the noise violation. If there are two businesses each hosting an outdoor concert, who is at fault? It's still going to take discretion of the police officer. And I'm worried this will be a difficult thing to prove, which once again will make the noise ordinance weak, like the previous one. And I also think these changes need to serve us not just now, but on into the future. And we have the very real possibility of up to 4 downtown bar restaurants, each with an outdoor space big enough to host live music. Those are all very much, possibilities in the works. And so I just want to say, if you're serious about limiting noise and protecting the residents, I suggest you make the very simple addition of no electronically amplified noise shall be heard beyond your premises onto the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving into our reports, as you'll notice that for those viewing in person here and streaming online, we are trying to clean up a little bit of our report section. Sometimes council members would say, they haven't had their meeting yet for the month. So we are going to be moving the council committee reports to the end of the month, so that way it's not just like a redundant part to the meeting, and that we have more factual information being presented. But we are leaving myself, the village administrator, finance director, and police chief as well. So we do have those bi-monthly reports happening. Within the last, since our last meeting at the end of January, myself and Mrs. Lupton met with representatives from the governor's office, auditor, attorney general, and treasurer of state. That was a good time to strengthen our relations with the representatives at the state level and to help understand what services that they can provide residents. So if you have any questions, that we know who to turn to or who to point you in that direction to get answers on any matters that you might have. I also attended the Mi Sombrero grand opening with several members of staff, and appreciate everybody supporting the new business here in town. I attended the art walk at the end of the month, end of January. Caught the tail end of Love on Main, so I know that's always a great event to attend. Judged the Pinewood Derby for Cub Scout Pack 90 2 Sundays ago, and that was a great time. I think this is my 4th year judging, and so it's always neat to see how dedicated the youth of the community are with getting their cars ready for that event. And then participated with our American Legion last week to dedicate a flag to Boy Scout Troop 90. And also honored them for the placement of flags in our local cemeteries during Memorial Day. So they are the ones that take care of that task in honoring our fallen heroes of Plain City. Also met with Ms. Rachel Likens about a potential new nonprofit that is going to help mothers of NICU babies, and also some local teen mothers, and helping to fill a need in that capacity. So I hope to send out more information as she gathers it and gets it started to help that nonprofit get off the ground and going.
Do you know if they're registered nonprofit already or working towards that?
I think she's working towards that, but yes, so that would.
I'm happy to help her.
Okay, I will send you your contact information to her, because she is just looking for help with, I think, fundraising a little bit at this point and kind of getting a guide of what to do. But I will
Yeah,
write a note here. That would be wonderful.
I got help doing ours, so I'm happy to pass it down.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. That is all within the last couple of weeks for myself. And Ms. Lupton, our village administrator.
Just a couple quick updates beyond everything that's on the agenda tonight. Staff had a right-of-way meeting with ODOT last week regarding the grant project for the Maple Street Bridge replacement. Those property owners in that area, I believe there are 4 people affected by right-of-way, only temporary easements, and they should expect to hear from our consultant soon. That work is still scheduled for 2025 for the complete bridge replacement. And we are finishing up getting the 2024 paving program ready, still determining the prioritization and the cost estimates, but we should have that going this spring. That's all, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lupton. Ms. Sonnet?
I'll be down a little bit later in the agenda.
Oh, okay, yes.
So there.
Thank you. Chief McKee?
Just a couple things, Mayor. Officer Drake assisted tools with the criminal justice event earlier this month, I believe it was the 9th. Lastly, the police department will be presenting workplace violence training for the admin staff and also public works on February 22nd. We'll work with Haley on this to get it done. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be during the day. Everybody's working. And that's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Moving into discussion items, our 2023 year-end financial report.
Hi. Okay. Thank you, Haley, for helping me assist with this and getting our report together. She wanted to inform council of how well we're doing. So she provided a report to you guys. As you can tell from the report, our revenue is extremely low last year. A lot of it was income tax revenue from new growth and new houses and stuff. However, we also, our interest income was extremely high because the rates get high. We also invested money in Star Ohio, and then that income actually paid for the interest on our note debt, our bond debt, so it was zero out of our pocket, so all the money we made our interest went out on debt, which was great. So we saved money there. Our expenses dropped extremely. I think it's to do with all the department heads because of cautious spending and planned purchases and thought out ideas. So I really appreciate that. Last year, for our new council members, we did a general fund balance policy as a policy that we agreed as council and staff not to drop below. And I think that was roughly like 1.2 million. And as you see, we were at 2.8 million last year. So we far exceeded that. So it just makes my job a lot easier. So as for the debt, we had a note that we have had since 2017, and we've been paying that down over the years. Last year, we made a $250,000 principal payment. Depending upon how revenues come in this year, we plan on paying that down again, so we can get that off of our books. We also have a bond payment that we pay every year for equipment for Maple Street, Gay Street, those things. So we have that payment every year. Since we had consolidated with the district, they have now since paid a portion of that debt, so that will help our general fund transfers to pay that debt back. We also took a $500,000 note out in October to help pay for the stormwater project at Milton Road. Once council decides on a fee to pay that debt back, then we will convert that into OWDA low interest debt and get that off our portfolio. All of our OWDA and OPWC water sewer debt has been transferred to the district, so we are no longer responsible for those annual payments. As for payroll, it's never a fun discussion because when we see that large number, it's a little scary. However, our this year, just payroll, no benefits or anything, was $2.3 million. And that's for all staff, council members, police, everything, so. Obviously, that's gonna go up every year, it seems like. We had 2 public employees and 1 admin employee leave, and it was only going to replace it with 1 person, so. Trying to keep those costs down, we actually promoted our utility clerk since we no longer need that position full-time to an admin assistant, and we're incorporating her into other roles to help with income tax, help with my side, help with anything that the Haley needs as well, to just try to utilize our staff as best as possible, and not overwork them, but use them, so. Our healthcare costs were increased by 12%, which is not horrible compared to other communities that went up 30, 35%. I attribute that to our agent, he fights for us every year, so we're very happy with him. We promoted Cindy Friday, utility clerk, to admin assistant, so she's the one that's gonna be kind of doing more of the back office stuff, helping the income tax, because there's assistants there that's needed certain times of the year, there's certain times that I need help, so she's gonna be that person. Every year I have to attend conferences that are not fun, but I have to. I attend our state auditors conference every year in March. I also attend the Secretary of State Treasurer training for our investment. I have to do that, but it's never fun, but it's required. I belong to a couple groups called Women in Public Finance. I have found that these type of roles are great to network with other people in my role, in other states, other communities, to find out how they handle certain situations. It's just great to learn. That was one of my goals for this year for myself, to start networking with other finance directors. So did that. As we completed initiatives, as you can see, there were several things that we completed as staff on this. I can never do this all by myself. Like the auditing was a great audit this year. There was very little issue at all with it. The payroll's never, it's 100% correct all the time. Can't say that 100%, but it's your best intent there. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Bonnet? Thank you very much. And our next topic of incentive policy. Mr. Sanford, take over this topic.
Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to take a few minutes and talk about our status of the incentive policy. You're aware that we've been working on this for a better part of a year, and we're finally nearing completion. We're probably about 90% there. But also, as part of that discussion, I wanted to bring up a potential new program that we would like your guidance on, that we'd like to roll out here soon. So in front of you is the latest copy. It's a draft copy of the incentive policy. So obviously, it's about 20 pages, so it's a little bit lengthy, but feel free to read through that in your off time. And if you have any questions or comments, in the meantime, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Be happy to discuss this with you guys in more detail, and obviously at future council meetings. My goal is to actually bring the policy to you for approval in the next 2 months. So hopefully by the springtime, we'll have this shipped up and ready to go. I do think that the policy is a proactive step for the village, especially as we work to ensure that we are respectful to taxpayers and residents, obviously, when we are considering economic development incentives. As I mentioned, we're about 90% complete with the policy. Really where we're at right now is just remaining, we have some remaining discussions scheduled with the Jonathan Alder School Board to try to narrow down some of our like payment in lieu of taxes and things like how do we compensate the school district. So we're actually, I believe, on their agenda next month to initiate those conversations, and once those are hashed out, we will bring it back to you guys. Ultimately, we want to be good partners, and we do welcome their involvement in this process. As I mentioned, I feel this policy is innovative. It sets us on a strong path forward. I feel this is something that we have probably needed to do for quite a while, so I appreciate your support of this. It's truly unique to Plain City, and it's very specific to our needs. For example, one thing that we touch on is the issue of annexations. That's a hot button issue in every community, but especially Plain City. So if you can kind of reference page 19 and 20 is on the back 2 pages there. One thing I want to reiterate, and this is for anybody in this room or anybody listening, the village cannot force property owners to annex. Okay, get that out of our vocabulary. We are not forcing annexations. We never have. We cannot by law. But however, as growth continues along the periphery of Plain City, we want to ensure that that growth, or any growth, but especially that growth, does not negatively impact the quality of life of our residents. To do that, though, we have to make sure that we are looking at annexations from a very strategic standpoint. We don't want to get into a situation where we're facing threats from development outside coming into Plain City, or really bookending Plain City so we cannot continue to grow ourselves. So over the last year or so, we've been engaged with several property owners. We've had annexations obviously come to council a few times, and we will have several more yet this year. Whether those annexation discussions have been for development, specifically for, Wilcox, for example, with Marin Reserve. But more recently, we've been engaging with property owners on potential preservation activities. We've had families, a lot of farmers, a lot of local families that are, frankly, they're grappling with the development pressure in the area, and they're looking to us to help them preserve their properties. They understand that as a municipality, we have certain things that we can do through our zoning laws and codes and things like that to protect development, to make sure that development is appropriate, and that it is, not jeopardizing the type of development we want. We see examples of that around the area. So when these property owners come to us, they understand, why it's important to annex, but the problem is that it's costly. It can be costly for people to annex in. So we recognize, obviously, that by those properties annexing into the village, we can protect the property owners, whether they want quality development or they want no development. We can step in on that. To address some of the issues, though, especially as it comes to cost of annexation, we've included tentatively draft format in the incentive policy a provision that establishes the annexation enhancement program. And this really is designed to encourage sustainable development, cohesive development, especially on those periphery properties. More so green space preservation, environmental protection, with the Big Darby around. We want to make sure that we're doing all we can to protect those areas. But especially, perhaps more than anything in this era of rapid growth in the region, is farmland preservation. That's the #1 issue we hear when we talk to property owners and regular residents as well. So through this program, we hope to offer on a very limited, case-by-case basis, certain benefits to property owners that may be considering annexing to the village, but they can't necessarily afford to do so, And that can really be any type of benefits. We have some suggestions in the incentive policy, but it might be things like rezoning or waiving some of the rezoning fees that are associated with annexation, or even some of the legal fees, survey fees, things like that. There are also currently in our village ordinances a requirement to connect to public water and sewer. Obviously now with the district in place, we no longer are concerned with that. I mean, that's out of our jurisdiction anyway. So that's potentially one benefit we could do. And then others, offsetting just the general cost of annexation. So I guess where I'm at tonight, by sharing this with you, I hope to bring a more formal proposal to you in the next couple of weeks. We really do want to establish some kind of formal program that relates to annexations. And we still need to run this all by legal, so make sure that what we're doing is on par with what we can do as a village. But I think this will go a very long way in alleviating a lot of the concerns we're hearing in the community. And really from village council and administration to the residents. We want to make sure that development is what we want it to be, or if there is no development wanted, that we have that option as well. So one important thing is, based on our research, we would be one of the few communities in Central Ohio, if not the state, to actually put forth some kind of annexation program like this. So I feel that we would be leading the pack, because we do know there are a lot of other communities in Central Ohio, particularly, that are looking at the similar issues that we are. So that being said, if you guys have any questions in the meantime, please let me know, and I will be happy to talk to you about that.
I have just one question. The last bullet here, listing of property on no development registry, that's exactly what it is, just there's a registry that says.
Yes.
Okay.
So we are proposing, potentially, if we can, basically the creation of a somewhat like a do not call registry. We understand there are property owners that are getting multiple calls from developers a week in and around Plain City. That has been one of the biggest frustrations from property owners, is just make the call stop, make the letter stop. So if there's a way that once these property owners, if they are willing to, or if they're wanting to not entertain development, then we would register them, put them on our website, and for our developers to go to our website and say, okay, here's this property, we're not going to call them. So it's not like illegal, enforceable, we're not going to do like through PD or anything, but it would just be a courtesy of letting developers know which properties are open for development and which are not.
My other question was just, these are, there's no limit to the number that they could potentially get on this list of benefits? It could be one or multiple?
It would be, yes, absolutely. So what we're working on is basically a priority list of properties. So for example, high priority properties would be the larger, say 20 to 200 acres that are immediately already around Plain City. And then if there are other strategic properties around us that we say eventually we would, love to have that as part of a park in Plain City as we continue to grow, then that would be like the tier 2. So it just depends on really what administration feels would be top priority properties. Our goal basically would be to outline those benefits in a pre-annexation agreement, which we already do with every annexation, but then have it come to council, you guys all for approval. So everybody would be on the same page prior to the actual agreements.
I feel like in the incentive program, on what is it, page 5, you list all the different ideas, the CRAs, and just, but the one I was interested in, we're already thinking ahead of that enterprise zone, one that we don't have, and there's other areas here that we haven't looked at either. I like that we're going to possibly include something in this document, so we look to the future, that we don't have to add later on that, oh, we should have thought of this ahead of time. I think we're looking forward a little bit, and I think as we grow, we need this document to help you out and help the village out in establishing, because out of that, growth can just go however it is, and this might be able to help certain groups be able to, develop out here, or in other cases, preserve other lands.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Sanford?
So I was just saying, I like how you guys have done and some of the ideas we were talking about, you didn't even say you were working on something like this. You said you had something planned, but I guess how does this get marketed out? I guess, because obviously, it's really geared towards, our adjacent, the property owners or what, but what's kind of the marketing plan for that? Or is that part of what you're working on?
A little bit of both. Yeah, we're definitely looking at that. We've already had discussions with other property owners, just kind of run this by them if that would be something they would be interested in, and the feedback has been very positive so far. That gave us the comfort in actually presenting to you guys tonight. We know we're on to something right, we're on to something good. From a marketing standpoint, it really depends on the situation. It will be case-by-case basis, but for those top priority projects or the properties, we will reach out to them. In addition to that, I do believe at some point, hopefully early summer, we will be having a property owners, kind of like a forum or a meeting where we will invite property owners in just to talk about growth and development. Similar to how we're having the business roundtable later this week, we'll have something for property owners coming up too. So that'll be the ground basis to get this really rolled out there.
Are we looking at both Union and Madison counties for opportunities,
Yes,
you know, for other financial assistance?
yes.
Or, okay, because that's one thing that's unique about us. We can tap into both those in those counties. And I think we need to take advantage of that more, that, you know, I just think we don't take advantage of that enough, that we can use both those counties. We're in a unique situation.
Yeah, I think that property under Round Table is a great idea. I mean, you see, you know, they're getting calls all the time, right? They don't know what's going on, and I think they're really inquisitive, so they have that relationship where they, you know, that's kind of their benefit, is like, what's going on around me? What are you hearing? Who's interested? Who's talking about, you know? And they know the farmers a lot of times and kind of who's selling and stuff, but, you know, that stuff's changing pretty quickly and those numbers come in, so I think opening up those lines of communications and that relationship building is critical.
Absolutely agreed. There's so many rumors, there's so many things going out in the community, and we hear about, you know, a lot of that. But we've pretty much just taken the stance so far to just kind of step back and let the drama just kind of, it'll deal with itself.
Yeah.
But it's really gotten to the point where it's threatening our ability to develop in a way that we feel is appropriate. And part of that communication is making sure property owners know what our values and our goals are, especially when it comes to development or preservation. And making sure they understand they can come to us for help. You know, we have to be annexed, you know, they have to be village properties for
Yeah.
that, you know, when it comes to zoning and densities and things like that. But it really goes back to building those relationships and going from there.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I really like having that transparency, so that way it's out there kind of for everybody to know what the plans are. So.
Thank you, Mr. Sanford. And then police wage scale update.
We have been working very hard, staff, administration, Chief McKee and his staff, personnel and finance. We're faced with a challenge that's not unique to us, but that is pressing in Plain City right now, which is that we've had one patrol officer position open since August, with a lack of qualified candidates that we would be willing to move forward in the hiring process. Over the past 6 months, Chief McKee and the police department have been creative and aggressive with their recruitment efforts, but it still hasn't really paid off. The reality is that we are part of the Central Ohio job market, even for police officers. We're competing with other jurisdictions surrounding us, and, you know, up to Urbana, down to Circleville and Pickaway County and everything. People are willing to drive a little bit further for a higher paid job. And other agencies around us are raising their police wage scales also because they're facing this issue as well. So we have run some numbers, and it's all in front of you tonight. The current wage scale is in blue. This is the wage scale. The group 1 is the patrol officer wage scale. That's what's posted on the job opening right now. Personnel and finance was tasked with putting together some numbers to put together a couple of hypothetical situations on raising the wage scale to match more of what's in the other jurisdictions, and then what kind of budget numbers this would be. We met last week. The committee reviewed all of the numbers, looked at option 1, thought it was the most feasible budget-wise, and we believe it will make the job posting more attractive for the patrol officer. So that's the proposed solution that's on tonight's agenda.
And Dave Conley.
Yeah, we worked with Dave Conley. He helped us put all these numbers together, the projections and everything.
When are you projecting this to go into effect? Immediately or?
The job posting is what you currently see advertised, and that's,
Yeah, but option 1, if I looked at page 2, there's the increase to the current staff, would that just happen now? Yeah.
Yeah, we had some really good discussion in the personnel and finance meeting, and I really pushed Chief to say, you know, to lay out everything that we're doing right now from a recruitment standpoint. you know, you just don't wanna throw money at a problem, you know, to be lazy, and that is, you know, certainly not the case of the effort that's been made in the past 4 or 5 months, you know, in terms of, you know, recruiting and getting posts on the website and trying to, you know, publicize it out there. And, but at the end of the day, you know, our salaries, you know, they are, you know, low with what's around us, and we're not, you know, while we are competing with Dublin and Powell for officers, they can certainly go there, you know, and work there. We're not anywhere close to trying to meet those numbers. That's not the goal. But, you know, hoping that the proposed increase, which, you know, is a little bit the conservative of the, you know, 3 we looked at, but it's still, you know, we're hopeful that this will, you know, get some more, you know, kind of high quality recruits that we're looking for. But I can assure you that the effort that's been made has been great, you know, beyond just the money aspect. But I feel like it's kind of we're at that point where that probably should be addressed.
Yeah, and it's not a new problem, so I don't doubt that at all. This is only the first reading. Is there a way between now and the second reading? I know we haven't done it in a while, but we did those studies. Is there a way to say where this new one would put us? Would it put us like, you know, obviously it's gonna be below Dublin, but like, do we have a quick little grid that you could just shoot out to us and say, this is where we'll fall? Like, I think we wanna be, honestly, like, competitive with the counties and stuff.
This is with Marysville and the Sheriff's Office.
Okay, that's probably where we wanna be, yeah.
Yes, and it's not, you know, right
Yeah, of course.
I really think this is a game changer. For once, I feel good, confident about this. I think it's gonna make a difference. Like President said, Dave Conley came in, he did his research, he really did, and I think he explained it very well to us. And this isn't something new. This is something every community is in. He said, you know, I think he does, Flint City's not a village anymore, it's Central Ohio. And that's what we're competing with. We're all competing with the same pool of people. And we're all trying to get the same pool. It's not like a lot of people are trying to get police officers right now.
Chief, you're saying the proposed option 1
Yes.
is what would be a
Well,
game
yeah,
changer, just at that
I
moment.
mean,
No,
I'm trying to be responsible,
Yeah.
we're trying to be responsible for the money and stuff, and, like I said, this puts us with the areas around us where, you know, I told you last week, Union County did the same thing here recently, they weren't getting anybody, as soon as they did that, they just got hired through people.
Well, and I think that's important, though, it's like, we don't have to pick from throughout the state, but surrounding us, I think that's critical for you to be able to do that.
And we talk about hiring new people, but I think we keep the people that we have. And it's only, you know, I'm not worried about some of the guys who've been here for a long time. I worry about the guys that are pretty new here.
I don't quite understand, what is 5A, 5B, 6, 7, 8? Explain those to me.
Police officers, sergeants, lieutenants,
Got it.
chief.
Okay,
Pay grades.
thank you.
And then the step within the pay grade.
Okay.
I sat in the personal finance, so it's kind of nice to hear, but yeah, like you said, I mean, this, you know, what they said is finally just even the option 1 starts bringing it more into the ballpark. You know, I think that's where we have to be, because it sounds like I think, are we currently the lowest in the area? Is that where they're at right now?
Yes.
Okay, I would say community-wise, I don't think we're one of the lower communities. I feel like
It's time for things that we start leading, not just at the police department level, but I mean, we have a great staff now, and we need to keep all the people that we have. And for the longest time, every one of these people wore different hats, and we finally are starting now to hire people, such as Mr., you know, Jason here, doing things that, you know, the village administrators just have to do. So it's, you know, we're finally getting to that level of the big city level, so we need to start, not just the police department, but all across the board.
Did we discuss at all, I know we just started floating the idea of potential revenue enhancements, so impact fees or increased levy? I'm sure it's early, anything on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion on that, and you know, part of that is the, you know, trying to time it with other levies that are coming up. So, but yeah, we had a lot of, I think, solid discussion around developing that strategy.
Yeah, I think that this right here, I think is a reality that we were all prepared for. I feel like we've been prepared and we've known this was coming. I think I think you guys done the work, just seeing that, just so I know where we are against everyone else. The only thing for me, like I said, is the same thing as we talked about. Okay, this is fine, but we got to figure out like a long-term solution so that we can continue. So thank you for the Personal Finance Committee for working on that and continue working on it. I'm assuming that the goal would be not to go for anything at the same time, to work against the school or work against the fire. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I listened, I did miss the last meeting, but I did listen to it, with the recording. I know you guys were talking about, hey, this is really a short-term, long-term solution.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Here's our short.
And I think the cadet thing was the same idea with the short term, which was more what the last discussion was about. And I know, Ms. Ferguson had mentioned also, we probably should, in addition to looking at like a levy, we should also look at the impact fees, the public service impact fees on residential, because might as well have the developers pay for the stuff. Or, I mean, instead of taxing just the current residents, let's get the new residents, doing their part.
You know, kind of, I guess, more going long-term with it. You know, if you look at the step increases, of our officers, we have 6 who are 5A. 4 are already at their 5-year step, so they're maxed out. We got 1 that's at 4, 1's at 3, so pretty quickly, and I think all the other steps, everybody's already at their maximum step. It's the same thing, you know, my job, they kind of always plan like a standard, like 3% just cost of living.
Yeah.
There's no cost of living here, so I think as we look further with it, I think just trying to figure out some kind of cost of living.
I think COLA is in here, right? We would normally
We
put.
did that this year. We
Was
did
that this year that you got the stuff in?
it kind of year by year.
Okay,
It's not a it's like a number that comes to us. So.
yeah.
What I'd like to ask is that, and not possible, but we were the first reading tonight. Our thing expires this Thursday, our NTN, ad, so we have to renew it to get people in to take the test. So if we want to send it out there, if we could add that, the new pay scale to it, I think that would make a big difference, if that's possible. I don't know if that's even.
So realistically speaking, I highly doubt there'll be much pushback on this. I, when in doubt, try to avoid waiving second readings and emergencies. But like, I don't have any real problem with it. It's not gonna, 2 weeks are not gonna change my opinion. It's just, we try to avoid doing that stuff. But I would hate to have you guys like post it.
Well, that can't change, but I have to wait till it expires again.
Yeah. I don't know what your guys' thoughts.
Which will be when?
Thursday.
No, when would, if you can't change it this time, when would it expire?
It's good for 3 months.
Okay,
No.
no.
1 month.
Or you could delay the posting for a couple weeks, but, you know,
Or we just go about posting it again.
right.
But I like to post it so we can get.
Yeah.
When you post, does it kind of like move to the top of the list? I don't know how it works, like every time you post, it's moved.
To the top, when people go under the check, they can check out everybody else's hire also on there, so they click on that, it shows what everybody else is paying.
Mhm.
So, you know, a lot of people click on that, the highest one's gonna get the test done first.
Okay. When we get to that, we'll see if anyone feels strongly. There's, you know, a motion at that time, right? I don't have any issue with it, to be honest with you.
I mean, I'm like you, it's,
I'm more worried about the long-term solution to this
Yeah.
than the short-term. I mean, to be honest with you, I just don't like waiving things, but it's okay. We're gonna waive something else tonight, so. These things happen.
Thank you, Chief, Ms. Upton, and Mr. Lewis. And to our final discussion topic for this evening, and one that I think we're all very excited about bringing forward, is the
yeah.
depot.
Fun. Actually.
On tonight's agenda is a request to ratify the purchase agreement of the historic depot. So I want to fill in everybody on what we're looking at tonight. The depot at Public Square is a new proposed project by staff in our uptown district. This is a rendering. So why a new park? Why have we prioritized this? After we completed the Uptown Master Plan last year, there were several key findings and goals that we really wanted to put into place. We agreed with strongly. We see all the investment privately that's going into our uptown. And we hear a lot of residents, such as Ms. Lear, who was here earlier, and the work that our residents are doing because they love the uptown and they want to be there more. A goal of the Uptown Plan was to focus the attention on uptown gateways through landmark buildings and public spaces, create some additional public space elements to become signature to Plain City and complement the existing ones, provide safe walking and biking connections with new amenities, and utilize uptown gathering space for public events that strengthen our community values. So currently the village has a really large vacant gravel lot uptown, and we own a garage and a building that's attached to that. We're also currently investing in a parking lot to add, I think, 55 new spaces to support our businesses and our uptown events. So we saw the vacant gravel lot and thought this would be the perfect place for this Uptown Master Plan to be implemented as a new gathering space. It's only a block in from Chillicothe, a block in from Maine, and it's going to be surrounded by businesses that are already in place or have been successful in the recent years. The parking improvements were already planned, so it's a perfect complement to the park location. And it kind of just expands our footprint of the uptown district. Right now, you really think of the 4 or the 5 corners, but as we grow, expanding that footprint is vital. So why are we calling it the Public Square Project? Historical maps from 1862 refer to this block as the Plain City Public Square. It used to outline the town hall and the fire station. There was a school there, churches were outlining it. So we kind of want to pay homage to that historical feel of that block, and go back to the days where the public squares were significant spaces for community engagement. This is a rendering of what we propose to do the full build out of the park. The parking lot's already in place, or will be this spring. We would like some open green space, potentially a splash pad. The garage we already own. It currently has the rounded roof on, but it's a ton of space inside. It's really nice. It could potentially become a market type of space or an indoor area, a little bit of a plaza, and then a historical train depot. So phase 1, which will kick off tonight with the successful passage of the ordinance, hopefully, will be relocating the historic Bryce Depot from Columbus to Plain City. This historical depot was originally on the New York Central line. It actually looks really similar to the old Plain City Depot. It has a lot of similar features. It's a similar footprint. Many original components are in the building, and it's been meticulously recreated, as well as become ADA compliant and reconstructed with modern building codes. This is the inside of the depot. We hope to use it for meeting spaces, gathering spaces, Christmas markets, family reunions, and a rentable space in the public park. A little bit more about the Plain City Railroad history. Maple Street used to be called Railroad Street. That's where the depot was. 1853, the first train passed through. It served as a shipping station for cattle, sheep, hogs. I think we found oysters that kept getting dropped off. And it provided access to Columbus. Abraham Lincoln funeral train stopped at Pleasant Valley on April 29th, 1865. And then passenger service ended, rail service ended, and the depot was torn down sometime after 1971. The depot served as a gathering place before internet and radio and cell phones for local population to hear news from the wires letters and the telegraphs. We see this picture a lot when you go to the Historical Society or around this building. People have really fond memories of the depot and the depot building. And we just kind of like to bring back that feeling. So potential future phases. Phase 1, like I said, it will be the depot at Public Square. We will plan to move the building, get it on foundation. It'll be at the corner, the northeast corner of the lot, and create the plaza around it with sidewalk connectivity down Bigelow Avenue. And then we will create more of the park as funding allows, which hopefully will allow seating, fire pits. We want to put in bike trail or bike racks because hopefully when the Heritage Trail comes to town, it'll go up Jackson to Church Street and stop at this park. Green space for outdoor community events. And then the creation of that marketplace where we renovate the garage that we already own, put up big doors and everything, have holiday markets, year-round farmers market. That's the really long-term plan. So this is really the best conceptual image. I think it kind of gives the feeling that we're looking to create. Yeah, we're just really excited about this project, and I think it'll be a unique park in Plain City and the area, kind of mixing the old and the new, and showcasing, our historical heritage, but also our love for community gathering and events. The depot project.
It's so exciting to have it for the public to view and then also start in with the phasing of it. And the vision on this project is just, it's almost overwhelming of how excitement will build around this area. So thank you. Thanks for having this vision created.
Yeah, when I know Mr. Lusai came on, we didn't know about it, it's kind of exciting to hear what, the plans were, so excited. This kind of first time seeing these renderings, so it's neat to see, and, I think it's gonna create a nice downtown destination, and I guess ironically, Miss Lear had her Plain City Walks kind of at that organized. This is kind of like fits in with the community growth with it, so good job with this.
This vision is just fantastic. Like when we first, when there was the hint of the depot purchase and the excitement around that, and just, I couldn't have imagined this. So this is exciting.
And I can even see that green space being for use for other things, we have our farmer's market, or we have little events or whatever, that could be used as that as well. Foundation's gonna be done, if it gets passed and we go through, foundation will be this spring, the depot will be moved this summer?
In June, yep.
In June? Okay, and then the renovations will start on the building itself once it's there. So your vision is.
It'll just need reconstructed on the foundation, and then we're going to rebuild the bathrooms and kitchenette part of it. So it really shouldn't be too long to get the building up and running. And then we'll do the sidewalk and plaza area.
It looks amazing, yeah. I mean, they're having more green space right in the middle. Downtown, connect to everything, potential like a splash pad, another playground area, and just gather. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, I think we've all been waiting, right, for the ability to like talk about this and get it out there. And now it'll be great to see the surrounding businesses, the surrounding residential areas, like be able to we can now talk to them and work with them. It'll be interesting to see what goes up around all of this, because that's what I've always, ever since we've had this vision, it's kind of like, okay, every time I walk down there, like, okay, if I had this or that. So it'd be nice to be able to openly have discussions now in collaboration with the surrounding areas and everything, so.
I'm excited for the phase 2, because of the farmer's market that we have here, it'd be neat to see it move to that, that could be a possibility.
Absolutely.
And
I mean, indoor space for rain or outdoor space.
exactly,
I mean,
I think it'll just expand what we've done, and with some of the other changes that we're trying to do in the uptown area, I think this blends perfect. And as you said, we're very limited with space down there for our uptown, and we are making a usable space, because right now it's being not used, and this is gonna make it usable.
When we decided not, like, when we were talking about the municipal building, and we were really focused on retaining as much of that land as possible, I didn't know what it was for in my brain, but I was like, we need to keep as much behind here as possible and be able to get that building even, it's beyond my expectation of what we could have done with that, but retaining that all the way back and then seeing it come into this, I mean, I just thought it was gonna be a bigger parking lot, so this is much better than that, so.
Well, it just lends itself to so many other events.
It does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's great finding the depot building that matches what was, you know, there in that area to bring the history of Plain City back and highlight some of the significant historical stuff that did go on there to, you know, as you said, kind of tie the past with the future.
Yep, the seller is very excited. It's going to a municipality where the public can enjoy it and learn more about the history as well.
I like how this creates a pedestrian space that's off Chillicothe, but still, or off Main Street, but still connects to Main Street. So as we think about that in a grander view, I like how this is kind of the start of that, pulling the pedestrian traffic off of Main, but still getting them access to all the businesses on Main.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lofton. Okay, moving in, there's no public hearing this evening, so moving into unfinished business. Second reading resolution 7-2024, authorizing and directing the village administrator to apply for Safe Routes to School project funding.
Motion to approve resolution 07-2024.
Second?
Ms. Ferguson?
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Harron?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Sins?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Moving into new business, first reading ordinance 4-2024, amending the codified ordinances chapter 509.10 excessive noise of part 5 of the general offenses code.
Mayor,
Yes.
I should have, I wasn't here to amend and ask for a quick discussion. Do you mind if I say like one or two sentences on this topic?
Yes, I mean, you can.
Yeah, we're not voting or anything.
Yeah, no.
So, I read it back over and everything, and I will say, I'm still not sold on the source from receiving. And, you know, just as we think about this over the next couple of weeks, I know it's not as easy as amending because of the decibels, but, I just, you know, if we wanna, you know, a second group or something, just talk about it, I just feel as if the unintended consequences, saying that, I don't think it should stop us from an up-down vote, and I don't think it should stop us from at least seeing it. But, you know, the more I think about that source versus destination is just, I feel like we're gonna be chasing a lot. So I just wanted to say that, I don't really need a discussion. We're still up-down vote next week, or 2 weeks from now, but.
I also would like to make a comment about the source. I just think giving business owners, a little bit more responsibility when they do have outdoor entertainment, to be able to say to whoever's playing at the time, look, this is the ordinance, this is what the decibels are from the source. It gives them more control over that noise coming from the source, rather than it being from across the street, either way. I just think it kind of takes that out of whoever owns that business, it takes it out of their hands if it's not controlled at the source.
Yeah, I think I would agree also, and with the comment that was made earlier today on our public comment space, you know, if you, at some point, you know, we hopefully have, you know, more entertainment things downtown, and, you know, if you have a band here and with the windows open and something else going on here, how do you attribute to that to one particular thing? So I certainly agree with Ms. Ferguson on the responsibility, you know, and control of somebody with music at their location, at their business. You know, if it's whatever, 50 feet, 100 feet from the source, here's your decibel reading, and that gives them the control of that, and then that gives the, I think, ability of the police to say, you know, I have one spot to go to. I've gotten 5 calls about this situation tonight. I don't, you know, they don't need to go to 5 different locations, and half an hour later you get 10 more calls and you have to go to 10 more different locations. You know, it's either this restaurant or this restaurant is too loud, so then they have one place to go to and say, you know, I've been to Lee's, I've been to the Granary, I've been to wherever, you know, and I was at, you know, I was 50 feet or whatever, 75 feet from the source, and that was the reading, and that was it. So I think from, you know, I wasn't in on all the first round of discussions. I attended some of the meetings, you know, before I was sworn in, but you know, it seems that I feel like that puts a lot worse situation on our police department to try to regulate that, and also allows for a huge increase in amount of calls from, you know, places around a particular establishment. So I kind of agree with the source. I think for a lot of different reasons, control of the owner and feasibility of the police department to manage those calls. So I don't know what that means from a first reading, second reading, or editing things. I don't know where we're at. That's walking into being new on council. That's kind of where I'm at too.
And that's okay. It's appreciated that the comments too, because we want to make sure that, you know, we get it right. Yes, we can go back, but I don't think anybody really wants to be able to have to spend too much more time going back. We want to make it make sense and make it easily accessible for the person, for our police department and those who legitimately have a complaint. Let's
So
see.
I have a question, kind of where it talks about like at a sustained, you know, the chart where it says at a sustained length of time between 2 and 10. So, you know, we have, I don't care what number you want, like 50, 60, whatever it is. So you're sitting there monitoring it and it spikes and goes to 51 for 1 second. Like, what's the sustained length of time? I guess, you know, because you sit there and you look, it's like, hey, letter of the law, you know, if it hits that number, 1 decibel, 1 second, is that the violation, you know, or is it over, you know, 2 or 3? Like, you know, I guess I don't know how you determine, you know, being above that, you know.
I think the purpose of it, and I think the issues we have to be careful with is we can try to science the heck out of this, but there still is always going to be some level of officer discretion. And, you know, the fact that something spikes for 4 seconds or 5 seconds, you know, I think there has to be some discretion that remains with the officer. I mean, again, you know, I think we've given them a reasonable period of time to evaluate that, you know, the 2 to 10 minutes. Like if it's all of a sudden it's consistent throughout that, I think that's fair within the officer's discretion to say, okay, you know, I've been here for, you know, 2 minutes and I've listened to it, or 4 minutes and I've listened to it, and it is now spiked 6, 7, 8 times or whatever. You know, maybe that's, you know, it's consistent enough. I mean, we can try to make it as tight as you possibly can, but I think you start kind of delving down the road of taking away some of the officer discretion.
No, and that's where I like the current code gives the officer kind of a little more of that discretion. You know, that's the referee side of me is, you know, sometimes you like having that limit, but sometimes it's nice to, you know, like, you know, with Randy, we were talking, you know, as an Ohio State ref, and, you know, sometimes you let them play big boy ball, and, you know, what's kind of, you know, you call on a little game, you let the big kids play. So, you know, sometimes I like having that, you know, having that discretion for that officer to make that judgment on it. So I don't know if that's in there or not with this code.
Well, I feel like the ultimate goal of this is like have the community work together, right? The goal of this, I would hope, is to not create something so strict that chief's officers can go, and the goal is not to go, you know, you're over this, I'm gonna write this violation, right? That's not the goal of this, I don't think, I wouldn't hope. The goal is to, you know, have communities work together and the officers kind of be that referee and say, hey, look, this is, you know, this is well past what's reasonable, and, you know, whether it's a decibel reading or whatever, you know, and communicate to the business owner and, you know, try to work together as a community. You know, and doing some research on this, I read an article with POW, you know, and it was from a few years back, so I'm not sure where they're at today. But the spirit of that letter from it was in the dispatch, was like Powell, their counsel said, we're not doing a noise ordinance. Our goal isn't to create this, this ticky-tack rule violation situation. The goal, like, we all agree that, having music and community and a place to gather is important for us. And we want people to work together and be reasonable with each other. So, I get the, I'm a compliance guy, right? I get rules and things to follow too, but at the same time, I don't want our officers out there, for 5 minutes and have jumped above one and writing a violation. I don't think that's the spirit of what we're trying to do in this community. So that's where I come from, who do you hold accountable? And also, I know the officer's job is to follow the law, but also I think that's a greater goal. We're trying to work together as a community and be reasonable with each other.
And one of the goals that we went into this was, it was too subjective before, and it didn't give our law enforcement the ability to really have a code that could be enforceable.
That had
So-
any teeth to
Yeah.
form.
Yeah, so
I
that's the intent of this rewrite.
I was gonna say that, I think that the intent, again,
Well,
we've been
one-
around-
that's not the
one of the
intent.
one of the intents was to set a level of expectation and then accountability, which I do understand your thoughts on, hey, it would be nicer. It doesn't quite work that way, to be honest. Like there's the reasonable standard's great if it's great until someone thinks something's not reasonable. I think, you could say drive a reasonable speed on the road. I might think that's 50, you might think that's 35, and then we ask the police officer to write a ticket. I believe that the goal of this was to say, no, the speed limit's 40. If you're going 41, 42, I might give you a warning.
Yeah.
If you're going 50, you're gonna get a ticket. I think that was actually the intent, was to set expectations and accountability. My thought was more about just like the receiving versus the source, because I just think from a,
Where it's being measured
like,
from.
just from a policing and from a accountability, and I think we just have more, it's easier to go and say, you are causing the sound. I'm standing in front of you, here it is, as opposed to I'm somewhere else and saying, I'm pretty sure the sound is coming over there, but it's also mixing with those kids playing over there. It's also, well, the car passes by. That to me just seems fuzzy. Like, I would rather just be able to go and say, you're the car that's speeding. I put a radar gun on you and you passed it and you were going you passed that car and that car was going this speed. Like, it just seems easier to me. And I think that, again, I'm not opposed to an up and down vote. I think we're all trying to move forward with this. Just where I stand would be, I prefer it come from the source.
So then we change this to, instead of the receiving to the source, will these values change?
I think it would have to.
Yeah.
So I thought about that, I thought about just amending it.
Because I'm looking at this going, if you're saying
It
that
wouldn't
for-
work that way. It would
the
be
businesses
different.
are just to be
They would be
handcuffed
different.
at that point.
It has to,
I think what
would
would
have to
happen, I think, Mr. Daly, what I envisioned was, we would vote on it. If it gets voted down, we'd say, okay, well, what are everyone's thoughts if it went to the other way? And then we'd vote on it again. I think that was really more what I was thinking, because you can't just amend it, because I wouldn't know what numbers to put in.
And that's, I want to put that out there.
I wasn't
We're
gonna
just
do
not gonna change that one word. It would have
Yeah,
to,
it would
the
be.
wording and the tape values would have to change.
Well, okay, so I'm hearing, the concern and yes, the comment period was kind of that from the source. Do we still want to put it for a vote or bring it back and get it right? Staff, what would you, Ms. Lupton, Chief, what? I know this is the first reading,
I think maybe
but
we talk after.
So 2 weeks, we can make the changes, then bring it back, right?
Could,
That'd be another first reading at that point.
that's it,
we'd be-
yeah.
we'd be-
Change it, so.
We'd have to rewrite that ordinance, wouldn't we?
we could also vote on this one. I want to be clear here. Part of me just wants to
Sure.
take a straw. I don't know. I don't know what everyone's feeling is. That's just my personal.
Well,
feeling.
we don't vote on the first reading though.
No, I know. I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
He's saying, leave it as is, take a vote.
Oh,
If,
waive the first,
Oh,
we'll go to the second
it's
reading.
interesting. I wasn't thinking that. I think give us 2 weeks to
I think
figure
you're
things
saying,
out.
I don't, there's nothing here that prevents you from doing a motion vote to amend this. And if it goes up, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So do a motion. If somebody wants to change what's in here, make a motion to change it and how you'd like to change it and see how it goes.
But the problem is, I think we don't know the decibel.
We can do that
reading.
too.
No,
Oh.
Yeah, but
Oh,
we
you
can,
can?
yeah, we can
Okay.
bring it back in 2 meetings, so you'll have
Okay.
the first.
Staff will
reading.
work on
So,
bringing
so
that back.
maybe if you guys could put together what decibel readings would look like if it was sourced as opposed to sound receiving, then we might know what to actually move.
And Mr. Lafayette, so we could amend it this evening with saying per staff's.
I don't think we
Well,
have the
no,
numbers
I don't,
right now.
No,
no,
you're
I was
not
just,
saying
I was
that,
just
okay.
saying, make a motion, like, I think you were saying,
We'll
let's
wait
have a
2
vote,
weeks
if we don't
and
get a
we'll have a
second.
vote.
Yeah, just, you can do a motion right now to say, we, you know, if council's on board, somebody make a motion to direct staff to go back and bring it back with the source and with the new numbers, and then you guys will consider it at that point as a first reading in 2 weeks. Does that make sense?
It does.
I think that's probably, because the way I see, we're kind of all in sounds like we're all kind of in agreement, that's not quite right, and we don't want to do it, so I think we're just gonna be saving ourselves 2 weeks,
Yeah. So is that a
doing it, so.
motion?
I would motion, for staff to come up with the new decibel numbers from the source.
I will second that.
Mr. You can clean up a little bit of the wording for what was probably said better next to me. But,
Ms. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
yes.
Mr. Sens,
Yes.
Ms. Udine,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Terry.
Yes.
Motion passes for staff to create new decibel numbers from the source, 6 to 0. Okay.
Will the next point, will the next reading be the second reading or be the
Be the
first
first.
reading?
Yeah, they're making, it's a
Okay,
substantive.
so we delayed 2 weeks, but we didn't delay 4.
So this is cleaning it up, it's
Listen,
giving
2
a
weeks is
direct.
nothing compared, I mean, this thing's been sitting there.
Fair.
Okay.
In this middle of winter at least, you know, the
Yeah,
sound
we
is usually quieter in the
We
winter.
got time till it's relevant.
Okay. First reading ordinance 5-2024, approving a 2023 supplemental budget update and requesting a waiver of the second reading.
Motion to waive second reading, ordinance 05-2024.
Second.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Ms. Ferguson,
Yes.
Ms. Udine,
Yes.
Mr. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yeah.
Mr. Sens.
Yes.
Motion,
I
Oh,
should say
sorry.
ordinance, second reading, motion passed 6 to 0.
sorry about that.
No, okay.
Motion to approve ordinance 05-2024.
Second?
Mr. Terry,
Yes.
Ms. Udine,
Yes.
Ms. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mr. Sens,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Motion to approve ordinance 5-2024, passed 6 to 0. And before I bring up, I'm going to read this and then I'm going to have Ms. Lupton give an update. First reading ordinance 6-2024, establishing a moratorium on the cultivation, processing, and retail sale of adult use cannabis within the village of Plain City.
Just a point of clarification, the ordinance refers to several terms, and then it refers to the ORC use of definitions. If you go into ORC section 3780, it has the definitions for like the cultivator, and it's all people with certificate of operations that have licenses through the state of Ohio. This is not a moratorium on any personal use, personal growing, or anything that the recent ballot initiative will allow. This is all like professional operations. It just doesn't quite get into it in the ordinance because it refers to ORC.
Thank you, Ms. Lupton. First reading resolution 9-2024, ratifying the purchase agreement with Info Depot LLC for the Plain City Historic Depot and requesting a waiver of the second reading.
Motion to waive the second reading of 09-2024.
Second?
Ms. Ferguson,
Yes.
Ms. Udine,
Yes.
Mr. Sens,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Terry.
Yes.
Motion to waive the second reading, passed 6 to 0.
Motion to approve, resolution 09-2024.
Second.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Terry,
Yes.
Ms. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mr. Sens,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Udine,
Yes.
motion to approve resolution 9-2024, pass 6-0. First reading, resolution 10-2024, amending the wage scale of the employees of the Plain City Police Department.
Motion to waive second reading resolution 10/2024.
Second.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
Ms. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Sens?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Harrell?
Yes.
Motion to waive second reading, pass 6-0.
Motion to approve resolution 10/2024.
Second?
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Sens?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Harrell?
Yes.
Ms. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
Resolution 10-2024, pass 6-0. That concludes our public portion of our meeting this evening. We are about to enter executive session. Ms. Lupton, do you see us having any information? Okay. We will not have any further information or discussion when we leave executive session. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G8, to consider information related to economic development assistance. And we also have another executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G4, to prepare for negotiations with public employees concerning their compensation. The first one, is there a motion to go into the first executive session?
Motion to go into the first executive session.
Second?
Ms. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Sens?
Yes.
Mr. Harrell?
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0 to go into executive session. 7:46, and Ms. Lupton,
Thanks, everybody.
thank you, thank you.